Welcome to Great Lives. I'm Daniel. Here we honor individuals whose journeys shaped history and inspired millions. Their courage, talent, and dedication left a lasting mark across generations. Join us as we revisit their stories from film, music, sports, and culture, celebrating lives that continue to inspire and remain unforgettable through time. David Allan Coe was born on September 6, 1939, in Akron, Ohio. His early years were far from stable, and by the age of 9, he had already spent time in reform school. Much of his youth was shaped by repeated encounters with juvenile detention and prison, setting him apart from a conventional upbringing. Despite these difficult circumstances, he eventually found an outlet in music. Writing songs became a way for him to process his experiences and express emotions that otherwise had no place to go. Finding his way in music. After being released in the late 1960s, Coe moved to Nashville with limited resources but strong determination. He took on whatever work he could find and even lived in a hearse near a famous music venue while chasing opportunities. His breakthrough came through songwriting, especially with a hit song performed by another artist, which helped establish his name in the industry. This moment showed that his writing carried weight, even if his style was unconventional. Career, style, and public image Coe became associated with the outlaw country movement, a space known for artists who stepped outside traditional industry expectations. His music often reflected real-life stories, personal struggles, and emotional honesty. At the same time, his career also included controversy and a reputation for pushing boundaries, which made public opinion about him deeply divided. Legacy and final years in later life. Coe faced health challenges and personal difficulties, but continued to perform and stay connected to music. His legacy is often seen as complex, shaped by both talent and controversy. What remains consistent is his authenticity and willingness to live life on his own terms, leaving behind a body of work that reflects a raw and unfiltered perspective on human experience. Donald Regal was born in Flint, Michigan, where he developed a deep connection to his community and its working families. From an early age, he showed interest in public service and civic responsibility, values that later shaped his long political career. His journey into politics began in the 1960s, marking the start of decades dedicated to representing people at the national level. Congressional career and public work. Regal served in the U.S. Congress for nearly 30 years, working under multiple presidential administrations. Over time, he transitioned from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party, reflecting his evolving political perspective and priorities. During his tenure, he became known for focusing on issues that mattered to everyday citizens, including support for working-class communities, veterans, and broader policy improvements aimed at strengthening public welfare. Commitment to community and values. Throughout his career, Regal maintained a strong bond with his hometown of Flint. He was often recognized for staying connected to the concerns of his constituents and for advocating practical solutions to real-world problems. His work earned him respect from colleagues across political lines for his dedication and persistence. Legacy and remembrance. After his passing at the age of 92 in San Diego, he was honored by community leaders and former colleagues. Local tributes included flags flown at half-staff in Genesee County. Donald Regal is remembered as a lifelong public servant whose steady commitment to people and policy left a meaningful impact on American political life. Happy Traum. Born Harry Peter Traum on May 9, 1938, in the Bronx, grew up in a culturally diverse family with German Jewish, English, and Dutch heritage. From a young age, music became a natural part of his life. As a teenager, he was drawn to the vibrant folk music gatherings at Washington Square Park, where open jam sessions and shared performances helped shape his early passion and direction: education and Greenwich Village scene. He later studied at the High School of Music and Art, a place that encouraged his creative development, and went on to earn a degree from New York University. By the late 1950s and through the 1960s, he became an active part of the Greenwich Village folk movement, a lively creative hub known for collaboration, storytelling, and the blending of traditional and contemporary folk influences that defined an era. Later years and legacy. In the years that followed, Trom remained closely connected to the broader folk community, especially around Woodstock, where he contributed as both a performer and a mentor. He was respected not only for his music, but also for teaching and sharing knowledge with younger artists. He passed away at the age of 86, with no widely reported public details regarding the cause of his death. His legacy lives on through his influence on American folk music and the artists he inspired. Jack Ging was born on November 30th, 1931, in Alva, Oklahoma, and grew up in a simple rural environment that shaped his grounded outlook on life. His childhood came with challenges, including his parents' divorce and periods of separation from immediate family. With his mother working demanding hours, he often stayed with relatives or family friends. He attended different schools, including a Catholic school and later a boarding school in Santa Fe, before returning to Oklahoma due to family circumstances. These early experiences built a sense of adaptability that stayed with him throughout his life. Military service and athletics. Before entering the entertainment world, Ging served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years, where he developed discipline and resilience. After completing his service, he pursued college education at the University of Oklahoma and also played college football. His athletic talent led him to appear in the 1954 Orange Bowl, reflecting both his competitive spirit and teamwork skills during this phase of his life. Acting career and legacy. Jack Ging eventually transitioned into acting, where he became known for strong supporting roles in television. He gained recognition as General Harlan Bull Fulbright in the A-Team and also appeared in Tales of Wells Fargo. He passed away at the age of 90 due to natural causes, leaving behind a legacy of perseverance, versatility, and a steady presence in classic American television. Mary Claire Costello was born on February 3, 1936, in Peoria, Illinois, and grew up during a time when television and Hollywood were rapidly shaping modern entertainment. From an early age, she was drawn to performance and storytelling. Training. She studied acting formally and trained at the Actor Studio in New York, where she learned a method-based approach focused on emotional truth and realism, which shaped her entire career. Career. She began on stage, working in theater and building strong acting fundamentals through live performance. Film and television. She became recognized for her role as Rosemary Hunter Fordwick in The Waltons, later appearing in the Fitzpatricks and guest roles in shows like Murder, She Wrote, and Chicago Hope. She also acted in films such as Let's Scare, Jessica to Death, Ordinary People, and Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Teaching. In later years, she stepped away from screen work and taught acting at institutions including Loyola Marymount University, guiding students with a focus on honesty and character depth. Legacy. She is remembered for her approach to acting and her dedication to craft over fame. Passing. Mary Claire Costello passed away in New York City at age 90, leaving behind a respected bodywork. Mike Tyson is one of the most iconic and complex figures in sports history. A man whose presence inside the boxing ring once felt almost unreal. Known as Iron Mike, he didn't just win fights. He overwhelmed them with a level of speed, aggression, and precision that reshaped heavyweight boxing. The youngest heavyweight champion ever, Tyson became a global phenomenon in his late teens, feared by opponents and celebrated by millions. Yet behind the explosive knockouts and championship belts was a life shaped by instability, trauma, and survival. His story is not only about victory and defeat inside the ring, but also about what happens when a person is forced to grow up in chaos, rise to unimaginable fame, and later confront the emotional and physical cost of that journey. A childhood built on survival, not stability. Mike Tyson was born in Brooklyn in 1966 and raised in one of New York's toughest neighborhoods. His early life was marked by abandonment, poverty, and constant instability. His father was absent, and his mother struggled to provide a stable home environment. Growing up in Brownsville, Tyson was exposed early to crime, hunger, and fear, shaping his understanding of the world as a place where survival came before comfort. He was often bullied as a child, partly because of his appearance and speech, which deepened his sense of isolation. In search of belonging, he formed connections in the streets, drifting toward negative influences that exposed him to trouble at a young age. By his early teens, he had already been arrested multiple times, reflecting a life that was spiraling before it had truly begun. Finding purpose. Through boxing, Tyson's life changed when he was introduced to boxing during his teenage years. Sent to a reform school, he was discovered by Bobby Stewart, who recognized his raw power and introduced him to trainer Cus D'Amato. This moment marked a turning point that redirected Tyson's energy into discipline and structure. At Cus D'Amato's boxing gym in Catskill, Tyson found something he had never experienced before: guidance, belief, and consistency. D'Amato became a father figure, teaching him not only boxing techniques, but also mental discipline and emotional control. Under his mentorship, Tyson trained intensely, developing a style built on speed, defense, and relentless pressure. Boxing became more than sport. It became identity, purpose, and a way to transform pain into focus. The making of a champion. Mike Tyson's professional boxing career began at just 18 years old, and his rise was nothing short of explosive. He quickly gained attention for his aggressive style and ability to end fights within seconds. Opponents often looked overwhelmed before the first round even ended. His combination of power, timing, and fearlessness made him a dominant force in the heavyweight division. By the age of 20, he became the youngest heavyweight champion in history, a record that still stands today. His victories were not just wins. They were statements of dominance that captured global attention. During this period, Tyson unified major heavyweight titles and became the undisputed champion, earning millions and becoming one of the most recognized athletes in the world. Fame, pressure, and the loss of guidance. While Tyson's success grew rapidly, so did the pressures surrounding him. The death of Cus D'Amato, his mentor and father figure, had a deep emotional impact on him. Without D'Amato's steady guidance, Tyson faced the challenges of fame alone. As his career progressed, the structure that once supported him began to weaken. Advisors changed, influences multiplied, and discipline gradually faded. The intense focus that once defined his training began to shift under the weight of fame, wealth, and constant attention. Although he remained a powerful fighter in the ring, the emotional foundation that had built his success started to erode, leaving him increasingly vulnerable to the pressures of celebrity life. Setbacks and public struggles. Tyson's career experienced major setbacks in the early 1990s, most notably his shocking defeat to Buster Douglas in 1990, one of the biggest upsets in sports history. This loss marked a turning point, signaling that even the most dominant athletes are not invincible. Shortly after, Tyson faced legal troubles that resulted in a prison sentence, pausing his boxing career during what should have been his peak years. After his release, he attempted a comeback and regained championship titles. But his career never fully returned to its original dominance. Controversial moments, public criticism, and inconsistent performances began to overshadow his earlier achievements, reflecting a career increasingly shaped by instability rather than control. Personal life and emotional turbulence. Outside the ring, Tyson's personal life was equally complex. He experienced multiple relationships and marriages, each carrying emotional highs and difficulties. His early marriage to Robin Givens ended under public scrutiny, becoming one of the most talked about celebrity relationships of its time. Later relationships, including his marriage to Monica Turner, brought moments of stability and family life, but also challenges related to trust, lifestyle, and emotional distance. Tyson became a father, which brought both joy and responsibility, yet his personal struggles often made balance difficult. These relationships reflect a recurring theme in his life, a search for stability in a world that often felt unpredictable. Loss, grief, and deep personal transformation. One of the most defining and painful moments in Tyson's life was the loss of his daughter, Exodus, in 2009. This tragedy deeply affected him and marked a turning point in his emotional journey. Unlike the physical losses he experienced in boxing, this was a personal grief that reshaped his outlook on life entirely. Tyson has spoken openly about how this event changed him, softening his perspective and forcing him to confront emotions he had long suppressed. It became a moment of reflection that shifted his focus away from external success toward internal healing and understanding. This period marked the beginning of a more introspective phase in his life. Financial collapse and rebuilding. Despite earning hundreds of millions of dollars during his career, Tyson eventually faced financial collapse, filing for bankruptcy in the early 2000s. Years of excessive spending, poor financial management, and external pressures contributed to the loss of his fortune. At one point, he was forced to sell properties and reduce his lifestyle significantly. This financial downfall became another turning point, stripping away the image of invincibility and forcing him to rebuild from a more grounded place. Over time, Tyson restructured his life, focusing on smaller ventures, media appearances, and business opportunities that emphasized stability over excess. Reinvention and modern life. In recent years, Mike Tyson has undergone a significant transformation. He has embraced a more reflective and disciplined lifestyle, focusing on health, wellness, and mental clarity. Through public appearances, interviews, and his podcast, he speaks openly about his past, including his mistakes, struggles, and lessons learned. Rather than maintaining his image as a fearsome fighter, he now presents himself as a person who has lived through extremes and gained perspective from them. Tyson also engages in fitness training, not for competition, but for health and personal well-being. His approach to life today reflects balance rather than dominance. Legacy of a complex icon. Mike Tyson's legacy is not defined by a single chapter, but by the full spectrum of his life: rise, collapse, and reinvention. He remains one of the most talented and feared boxers in history, but also one of the most human examples of how success and struggle can exist side by side. His journey highlights the impact of childhood trauma, the pressure of fame, and the difficulty of maintaining stability under constant public attention. Today, Tyson is seen not just as a former champion, but as a figure of resilience who continues to evolve. Conclusion: strength beyond the ring. Mike Tyson's story is ultimately about transformation. From a troubled childhood in Brooklyn to global fame, from triumph to loss, and from collapse to reflection, his life reflects both the extremes of human potential and vulnerability. While his boxing achievements remain historic, his later journey offers a different kind of lesson. One about growth, accountability, and the ability to rebuild after failure. Tyson's legacy continues to evolve, reminding the world that true strength is not only measured in victories, but in the ability to face oneself honestly after everything has changed.